Hi, Alejandro. How are you?
Alberto, very well, thank
Alberto.
you. Yes, fine.
Uh, Sorry. It's
Now,
how's the weather in you're in Chianti right now, right? At home?
yes, I'm in
Yeah?
Chianti at home. It's has been warming up lately. It's nice. We got a little rain every week of the past 4 weeks, which has been perfect. So the vines are growing very well. They're very healthy. It looks
Wonderful.
like a promising beginning of growing season. Obviously, it's too early to say something more than this because
Sure.
it's we are just at the very beginning.
So flowering's happening and all of that on
We are
schedule.
about that. We are about that, and it's an important time to be very efficient in protecting the fruit from potential downy mildew. So especially in organic farming, which is a lot of the vineyards around here, and but it's looking good. I mean, it just I'm not concerned. It's really showing a beautiful canopy, very green, very healthy. So it's at least in a difficult time as we are all living. It's we see the vineyards that they don't care about the coronavirus, and they're growing very well. They're not
They
locked
just
down.
they just move right along, don't they?
Yeah, they're not locked down. They don't care. They don't know
That's
what we are talking about.
yeah, that's reassuring. Oh man.
Yeah, so it's very nice.
So yeah, it's been wonderful here in Texas. We've had a nice spring so far, so
Ah,
starting to get warm obviously. You ever been to Texas before?
I've been a few times. Yes,
Yeah?
I've been in Houston, in Dallas, yeah, in Austin,
Oh, good. Nice.
because
So you actually,
I like
yeah.
music. So you must go to
Uh,
Austin if you like music.
I'm a musician. I'm a
Oh,
musician.
fantastic,
My family's
fantastic.
been musicians for years. So
Yeah,
um, that was
For live music is number one, Austin. Just amazing.
yeah, it's the best. Hopefully, we'll
Yes.
see what happens with the festival this year. I hope
Yeah,
we'll see. Word's still
might
out.
be.
So well, as you're, I guess let's just get on into it. As you're, I think a lot of people kind of think of you. You started off in Italy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're Italian born.
yeah.
Um, and so you spent a lot of time in Italy. I'm curious what made you interested in South America in the first place, and when kind of did that happen in your mind where you started this dream of going down there?
Well, it was back in 1995, 25 years ago, when myself and a very good friend of mine, Antonio Morescalchi, decided to develop together a wine project. And
Mhm.
initially, we were traveling around Italy. Everything was very expensive, and also I think we had a little bit of adventurous spirit. So I told Antonio, why don't we go to South America? Because when I was studying in UC Davis in California, I had met an Argentinian guy, Patricio Santos, whose family used to own Norton Winery, then was sold to the Swarovski, to the Crystal Austrian Crystal Company. And this guy who was studying with me was telling me a lot about South America, mainly about, he was from Mendoza, so about Argentina and the high elevation vineyard and all that. And then I decided with Antonio to go there and see what was going on. And I visited Argentina and Chile, and we love both countries. And we ended up, buying a property in Argentina and developing our own project, which is Altos Las Hormigas, which is
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember those.
yeah,
The first wine restaurant that I really worked at as a waiter, we poured that by the glass, and our guests
yes,
just loved it here, which is perfect for Texas.
yeah.
Slapping
There was
slapping glass.
juicy, succulent, and very friendly. And I think and there was one of the first wines from Argentina to succeed in the U.S. market, and then since then I started also consulting for other wineries, and I ended up in this fantastic project in Uruguay, which we are going to talk about tonight.
Yes, which I'm very excited. I had the good fortune to visit last year in November, and it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my. And the wines, we sell them here in Texas for specs. Our customers really love the Tanat. It goes well with our beef here, which is nice.
Yeah.
But so when would that have been when you first made it to Maldonado and Garzón?
Well, there was I met the family of Alejandro and Bettina Bulgheroni back in 2006. And then the following year, in 2007, they invited me to visit their property in Maldonado, just to hear from an expert if it was a good place to grow premium grapes and to make premium wines. And I got there. There was kind of this time of the year, a little earlier, was Easter 2007, so it was in April, and I asked them to prepare some information about the place, like the climate information, and then to dig some pits in the soil to see what the soil was about. And actually, when I first got there, I really, fall in love with the place. I got very inspired because despite there were no vineyards around, I was feeling that it was really an amazing place to grow grapes for the environmental condition. So I found an amazing soil, which is the decomposed granite called Balasto, locally called Balasto, which is a beautiful soil. And then I like very much to be close to the Atlantic Ocean and the fresh, cool, healthy breeze coming through every day and refreshing the environment. And I love the biodiversity. So around me, there was plenty of bush, stones, natural palm trees, a lot of animals, river and lakes. And so I was feeling like to be in a very complex environment, which is always where you find the best wines in the world made. So in general, it's elegance and complexity and finesse and layers are in general coming from very complex environment. And that was my feeling when I first got there in 2007.
So at that point, Bulgaroni had not bought the place yet. He was kind of just thinking about it. He said, I think this is nice. And he called you and said, what do you think about this place?
Actually, he was his property already.
But he had already bought it.
Yeah, but he didn't buy that to develop vineyards. I think he bought that because he loved the place, because it's a great place to go on holiday. On summertime, it's close to Jose Ignacio, to a very nice part of Uruguay, and he had already developed some olive trees. And he had also some cows and some animals, but I think he had never experienced to grow grapes there, and that's why he asked me to get there and to explaining what my feeling was, and I told him, I think Tambap is a great place. And then how we started.
Yeah, I remember. It's funny that you were mentioning the breeze, because I remember it being very windy when we were down there. And that was one of the things that really surprised me the most, I think, when I tasted the wines, particularly from Garzón versus the stuff that's grown up, in Canelones. I really found the freshness to be a very inviting and key factor in those wines. It's part of their soul, especially particularly the Albarino, which I must say is one of my personal favorites for that area. So that's kind of leads me to my next question. What made you think of Albarino? Was it this proximity to the coast mostly,
I think it's Albarino came when we were talking about what kind of wine grape to develop. Obviously, for the red, I say Tanna, if it's here for such a long time, must be doing well in this environment, this country. And when it comes to the whites, there was not much white grapes grown and not much experience. And I was inspired by thinking of Galicia, because the environmental conditions are very similar to Galicia, because Galicia is about, decomposed granite, mother rock, is about Atlantic Ocean climate. And so I thought that it should do well here. And that's, and also I like the idea of growing a grape which was not too international. You know what I mean? Something to deliver to the market and to generate some interest, and not just another international grape. So that was a little bit the idea. And I also was thinking that what I like very much of Garzón was also the feeling that Garzón is one of the few new world wine regions which are very similar to what Europe is about. Because if you look at most of the new world and North and Southern Hemisphere wine region, most of them have been developed in quite warm and dry environments. If you think of Argentina, Chile, California, South Africa, and Australia, and that place was making me feel like being more in Europe. A lot of nice, good rainfall, a lot of filtered light, a lot of, in a way, humidity, but refreshed by the cool, healthy ocean breeze. So that condition were making me feel like being in a place where you can achieve a lot of elegance and freshness and vitality into the wines.
Which is a style that you're known for and that you enjoy yourself, yeah?
I enjoy, in general, I like wines which are very alive, which have got, as I say, good energy, good voltage. And I like more texture than concentration. And texture is what you can really achieve very well there because of the granite. Granite is, is one of the 4 categories of premium soils, along with limestone, with schist, and with basalt, which are the volcanic soils. Is one of the 4 premium soils that are giving the wine a lot of energy and vitality. And I found that there. And I like very much that, as an experience when I drink wine. I like juiciness, I like freshness, I like texture, because texture is structure which is moving around your mouth. It's not concentration is more about is a bit more heavy, is a bit more flat, as opposed to texture which is more alive. And that's what I found easy to achieve in that environment because of the climate and because of the soil type. And as you say, yes, I love the kind of flavors personally.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
The freshest style, right? Not so heavy, not so syrupy.
I think we are all coming from a time in which we were more involved in concentration and power and viscosity and in density and everything, which I don't think they are bad, but it's just about you evolve over time, and now I'm really, for a long time, that I appreciate more these kind of descriptors, like more purity, authenticity, energy, vitality, freshness, complexity, and drinkability. To me, drinkability is the key, because even with the Tanna, our big challenge has been to make this wine, a rich wine, but very enjoyable, very friendly, which is what you were mentioning before, the original and traditional wine area in Uruguay, which is Canelones, where it's more difficult to achieve that, in my experience. And probably you have experienced the same. Yeah.
I tasted it too when we were there. A lot of the Tannats from that area seem to be a little bit harder and a little bit more austere and firm. They're not as inviting. But I'm not that they're bad wines. There's some excellent wines, but the area of the Maldonado and the Garzón, when I tasted the Tannat for the first time, I was blown away by just the elegance, and you use the word drinkability. That's perfect, because you actually could finish a bottle without feeling weighted down or sleepy or tired, or any of those things that they can do to you
It,
if it's
it's
too strong.
true, and exactly. And then, I always like to say that, for example, when it comes to food, which is the best food? Is the one that you want to eat more, and then you stop because you are full, or you are eating something like white truffle or beluga caviar, and you had to stop at some stage unless you want to to go
Yeah.
bankrupt. But and why shouldn't be the same with wine? To me, a great wine should be drinkable. I mean, when
Yeah.
I drink, a Romanée Conti, I can drink 3 bottles in a row if I can afford to buy it, but I don't. But I mean, that's what I mean. No, it's a drinkability in the past has been associated wrongly to simplicity, which is not true. Drinkability can be associated to elegance, to complexity, to texture, to flavors.
Yeah.
So, and to me, it's good to see in the world that drinkability is coming back to the center of quality, which is
Yeah.
good.
We're seeing that too. I mean, even in our little corner of the world here in Texas, which is not so little, we find that the customers are really asking for, I don't want something that has a lot of oak. I don't want something that has a lot of, I mean, they're a little more sophisticated now, and that's really wonderful to see because you can have a wonderful meaning conversation with somebody and put just the right thing in their hands. And of course, we still have great California wines and all of that, but I have found that when I give them a bottle of the Cabernet Franc, for example, which is a wonderful, I think, one of my absolute favorites there too, um, it's so Loire Valley-like and fresh and has the acidity and all of the earthy flavors that I expect from great old world Cab Franc, which I just find it fascinating because it's more old world to me than the new world. You know, it has that soul. It feels like it, and it tastes
Yeah,
like it.
to me is more like an old world that started a little later. But if you look at the environmental condition and also the flavors you can achieve there, is very much, as you were saying, reminding me the Cape Franc from the Loire, or some other wine regions in Europe where you achieve more layers and more complexity than pure power and concentration. And I think, as you were saying, I have experience also coming to the US for many, many years, how the wine consumer has evolved also in eating. You see now more and more and more exceptional restaurants in the US. And I remember when I was studying there a long time ago, there were good restaurants, but it was not as easy as it is now to eat very well. And
Right.
now, I mean, wherever you go in the main, part of the US, in the most important states and everything, food has evolved incredibly well. And I see the consumer appreciating more and more good wines with very good food, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked your comment too about simplicity not necessarily being the thing that makes a wine drinkable, because it's not. It's balance, right? And I find that all of your wines have really wonderful balance. So next question for you, Alberto, is so what varieties did you start with when you first got to Garzón to start planting things? I mean, you picked Albarino probably. I imagine was
Yeah.
one of the.
We, what was difficult for me was that after I told the family that it was, in my opinion, a very interesting place to grow premium grapes, I was hoping that the answer was, well, let's start with 10 acres and then see what happens. But the family told me, no, 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 no. If you think it's a great place, let's start with 500 acres.
Oh
And I
gosh.
say,
Okay.
wow,
From 10 to 5.
that's
Wow.
well, you know.
All in.
And so it came to what to plant. And to me, the focus when I go to even to a new place, because obviously if you come to Tuscany, go to Mendoza, go to Chile, I mean, more established wine region is easier to decide what to plant because you have a lot of experience around you. But
Yeah.
there was not, there
Yeah.
were just very little vineyards, almost nothing in Maldonado. So when it came to decide what to plant, Obviously, I told you why Tana, because, you know, it's the classic red grape in Uruguay, so we must grow that. Albarino, I told you why. And then I was thinking about some others that could do well in that environment. And Cape Franc was one to come to my mind, and reminding me the Chinoni, the Loire, and, you know, all the kind of style and environment. And then I thought that was very interesting to experience also Marcelin, which is becoming very interesting. And it's with the climate change, it looks like one of the best grape to go through this type of climate change. Is very rustic, is really doing well in different environmental condition, and is doing incredibly well in Garzón. Then, you know, there was some more clay soil in the bottom of the valley that we decided to plant with some Merlot. And then there was also something, in a way, a bit more easy to sell. And then I thought to, especially for the domestic market, but also for the export, some Sauvignon Blanc, some Pinot Grigio, because, you know, Pinot Grigio, especially, you know, 10 years ago, was really very popular. And then we had like Saint Petit Verdot, which was also a very nice surprise. And then a little bit of Viognier. So I tried to focus on what I thought could do well there, and also some other that probably could be initially easier to sell. That was the combination of the choice that we did along with the family.
So how many do you have total planted now down in at Garzón?
We have 240 hectares, which is like 240 by 2.4 should be like 600 acres or so.
Wow.
And this has been amazing how this brand has evolved and is succeeding worldwide. We were not expecting that. There has been a great change when you know, the general manager Christian Wiley came aboard. You know, he was really an amazing person to take the brand, take the wines, and to deliver them and bring them all over the world. And he did an amazing work with the marketing and with the sales, but also he has background in viticulture and winemaking. So for us also was interesting to share with him and his experience about the wine style and adjusting together a few things that we were all experiencing over time. And I think he has been fantastic to create a very, very good teamwork. Garzón is a real family, apart from obviously from the owners, which is a family, and but also all the people who are working there, you know, they really get along very well. And it's when I go there, I feel like being part of the Garzón family. And I think this is the key of success of most of the companies. So having a very well balanced teamwork and people who enjoy to work together.
Yeah, very inclusive culture.
Yeah, very much, very much. We are all involved at the same level, in the good and in the bad. You know, we are success, some others, but we are all. There is not the kind of competition between these. Really, a very healthy environment, and I think Christian did a great job in building that up.
And now, as of I think what was it, 2018, Wine Enthusiast New World Winery of the Year. I mean, that's a pretty big honor, and you know, could have gone to a lot of different people, but that says something for what you're doing down there and how exciting it is, and just it's such an exciting place. And I wish I was there right now. I wish I could you know, feel the sea breeze coming and we could share that with people, but they just have to go visit now.
No, it's believe me, all the times I go there, since when I started going there, you know, was a beautiful, wild part of Uruguay. And then I see now what has been developed and the way that has been developed. I really feel like, am I dreaming or am I awake, or because
Right. It pinched
it's
me.
really fantastic, and it's and also I think it in the decision of how to develop the environment and the vineyards, the family has been key, because they really wanted to keep the environment as uh, as natural as possible. We
Yeah.
didn't decide to remove the hillside and make 3 large vineyards, but as you know, Garzón has got over 1,000 small vineyards. The average size of a Garzón vineyard is less than 1 acre, which is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And they all have really different, dramatically different expositions to the sun too. So it's just fascinating. It's a beautiful thing to look at,
Yeah.
and it does remind you of some older world terroir, the great terroirs of the old world. It just looks beautiful and complex on its own. Even if you hadn't had vineyards planted there, I imagine it still would be gorgeous. Um, so
Yeah,
well,
and the challenge was just to keep the integrity and the beauty of the environment and develop vineyard, in that complex environment. So it's we didn't want to ruin it. We want to preserve the beauty and the integrity of the place, and therefore only with the family who had an amazing long-term commitment in preserving the environment, you could do that, because obviously the investment in doing something like that is much higher in developing the vineyards and managing the vineyard than having 3 large industrial vineyards, which is very classic to see in the new world. And the family say, no, we want to do something special. We want to make a Garzón an amazing natural vineyard, and that's what we did.
wow. And the winery shows up. The winery is amazing.
The winery is unbelievable. Yeah, it's and if you think of the size,
Yeah.
it doesn't look that big, because as it is so well integrated with the remaining part of the
The hill.
of the farm, and it's and that's also hasn't been easy, and has required a lot of a lot of work, and yeah, it's great to experience now all the appreciation that we see with the awards and everything, and mainly seeing a lot of consumer happy to drink the wines, because at the end, I think is who's determining your success are the people who are drinking your wines
Yeah.
more than
Customer.
anything else, and people love it. And I would never expect to see such an amazing growth again, thanks to the quality of the wine, but also with the amazing marketing and sales teamwork. And then now we are almost, basically we are selling all we grow, all we make, which is
Are you really?
unbelievable.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's
Wow.
there is nothing left. There is nothing left, and it's so actually some of the wines we are experiencing a shortage, like the Albarino. We always get to the next vintage very quickly, because we go out of stock, and the rosé, also the Pinot Noir, has been another nice discovery, and
Yeah,
the
that's
rosé
done
that we
well
make, is
because it's so
hugely
hot.
successful. Yeah,
For us, it's
yeah,
in Texas, you visit in the summer and it's about it can be 104 degrees, and the sun is very intense and it's white hot, and and you if and we eat barbecue a lot. We eat beef just like in
sure,
Uruguay, the best
sure.
beef in the world in Uruguay, and a beautiful bottle of that chilled rosé from Garzón is just the right thing for some barbecue. I mean,
True, true.
two,
And I think
three, 4.
also, yeah, and I think also, with the exceptional beef that you have in Texas, the tanna is really,
Yeah,
matching very, very well, very well.
great for snacks. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and a campfire.
Yeah.
Um, so, other thing I was wondering about. So, the winery is the first one outside of the North American continent to be completely LEED certified.
Hmm.
I was curious what that process is like and how long does it take?
Oh,
Because you keep for 10
it takes,
years.
yeah, it takes, there are so many checks and so many requirements that it takes a long time, and it takes the commitment to do it, because it's, is really, you know, expensive, is requires energy, time, and everything. But it's been an amazing achievement. Yeah. But I think it's the idea of Garzón is in anything we do, we really want to be coherent. So, and the coherence is the way we develop the vineyard, the way we make the wine, the way we have developed also the restaurant, with, you know, matching tradition with a little bit of innovation, and the winery. The whole Garzón world is very coherent, which is important. You know, when you go there, you can do the Garzón experience, which is very feeling. You know, just you feel like you did something unique, and the uniqueness of the place is just is fantastic. And you know, for me, I'm going to many different parts of the world for my consulting business, but I always, you know, all the times I go back to Garzón, I'm the happiest man on earth. It's just it's never too much. It's never too
Right.
much. I wish I could go there more often, but and I'm now suffering the lockdown and not going there.
Yeah, we
For
all. It's tough for everybody. This whole COVID thing has just put the brakes on so many people's aspirations and things. But you know, I really think we all just put our heads down and do the best that we can, and we'll
oh
come out the
sure.
other side stronger than then it's not going to beat us in any way.
No, but I mean,
Um,
it's and also sometimes I think myself, remember the tales of my grandparents. They went through two world wars, the first and the second, and
yeah,
my parents went through one world war. So in life, you know, this is not to me comparable to a world war, obviously, but you know, it may, you know, I think it's impossible to spend all your life without going through something that you had to deal with and is difficult. And now we
yeah,
are experiencing something like that, which is difficult. But yeah, I feel that the world, you know, will go over that.
yeah.
Human beings, they want to live. They don't want to die. They want to live, and we, you know, everybody will do the best possible to go through that. And we need to wake up in the morning with a positive attitude and just thinking forward. Actually, we are also learning from this experience, because what we are doing now is great. You know, we are, you know, communicating with a lot of people, and we learned that we can do a lot also, probably without traveling so much, or we can do more than
Right.
what we
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, and it's forced technology. I mean, with the technology we have, this is amazing. I mean, you know, who would have thought 20 years ago that you could do something like this? So you could have a conference and have all these people join in and learn, you know, and taste along with you. And it's only now. I mean, it's one of the greatest times to be alive.
It
So at least
is.
that's what I think.
No, it is.
That's
And
what I
also
think.
for me, for example, I've always been outside of all the social network. Maybe because, you know, before the
And
lockdown, I've been so busy and everything, and in the family I was considered like a caveman. I mean, outside of this time, you know, because I was not in Instagram, I was not in Twitter or Facebook, and now I'm learning to live with that, and really I'm enjoying very much to be, you know, in contact with many people. Sometimes consumer, I do some live, I do some Zoom organized by wine store, and I enjoy that because you can talk to a lot more people, and it's great. You know, just it's something that I had not experienced before for different reasons, and now I'm enjoying.
nice. Yeah, I mean, I imagine you you seem like the type of person who would spend a lot of time in nature and enjoy being outside a lot. And so sitting in front of a screen might not have been your favorite thing for many years, I'm sure.
No, exactly. But now that you have to stay home, and because it's important to stay home, you know, having the possibility of dealing with many people from different parts of the world, it makes you feel a lot more comfortable, and you rediscover something that was there already, at least for me, but I'd never used. And now I think it's after this experience, probably I'll go back to my normal life, but probably with the awareness that you know, tools like these, or you know, this type of conferences and video conferences, etc., is something that really probably helps a lot communicate in a faster and easier way.
Yeah. Well, it saves you money on plane tickets too, flying all over the
For
place.
sure, for sure.
uh, so, well, how are we on time? Because I cannot see the time that
We
you.
are.
Are you okay?
It's 35 minutes out of 60 because I think it's. We
Oh,
are
okay.
halfway. We are a bit over halfway. We still have like 20 minutes left, 22 minutes left.
Perfect. Because I just had a couple more things I wanted to ask you, and also, I opened the this wonderful bottle of Albarino, and I was wondering, did you have the bottle? Ah, you have some with you? Good.
I do have
Cheers.
it. Yeah.
Something.
Cheers. Salud.
Uh, just the freshness and for me, the saltiness too comes through very nicely. And I imagine that's something to do with the oceanic, being close to the ocean, just like in Galicia. But I mean, if you gave this to someone blind, I think they would have a hard time saying that's not Albarino from Spain, honestly. But it has a little bit more of a intense, like, mineral composition and a little more fruit too that makes me think, oh, maybe this isn't from Spain. Maybe it has a little more of a personality to it. It's just a fascinating wine, and I just love this wine. So
Yeah, I think
well,
it's what I enjoy very much with the Albarino from Garzón is that on top of the freshness and the minerality and the tension that you find in the premium Albarino from Galicia, on top of them here there is probably an extra texture. The wine is a bit more intense because you are still too close to the Atlantic Ocean, but I think it's here the sunny days really help to have an extra maturation of the flavors, and then you get a bit more. It's a nice combination of more fresh floral aromas with some stone fruit, but it's a fresh stone fruit. It's not an heavy, ripe, jammy stone fruit, which is
overly
great.
sweet.
Yeah, so it's in a way it's. I enjoy very much the combination of all these elements: freshness, texture, but also richness in the mouth, and also the feeling of tasting something which is not another Chardonnay in a way, and it's
Right. Yeah.
and it's part of what I really hope for this world, which is having in the years to come a world of wine which hopefully is going to be wider, more diverse, and more exciting, because we need to drink more regions, we need to drink more grape varieties, and because there is so much to experience that people are not aware of, and
Very true.
that's a pity. So I think our mission at Garzón is also to give a contribution to create a more exciting experience for the consumer and expose the consumer to a new place, to, in a way, new grapes. I mean, they're not new, but definitely for many consumers, Albarino is not an international
Yeah.
grape.
Right. It's not Chardonnay. I mean, it's
No,
not.
it's not Chardonnay. It's not Pinot Grigio. It's not Sauvignon Blanc. It's
Sauvignon Blanc.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was the idea too from the inception. It sounds like to really, and that's what impressed me a lot when I was there, was that a lot of, when I think of South America in a lot of ways, they all, Chile, Argentina, obviously Malbec is insanely popular, but and there are some things, people starting to do new things in Chile and Argentina, but you're taking the most forward-thinking estate, and you're putting your chips on wines like Albarino and Cabernet Franc, and not like so much of the Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon stuff, and even Marcelin, which you mentioned, which I got to tell you, Alberto, when I came home, I had about 6 different bottles of Marcelin in my suitcase because I just think it's.
yeah.
I think it is so special. It is such a special wine for Uruguay, and the ones that we tasted there, I just fell in love with the variety. But what do you think makes that so special for the region?
I think it's You mean the Marcellan?
Yes,
Or
Marcelin.
well, again, Marcellan was, I like very much the idea of a grape which is a combination of Cabernet Sauvignon and Grenache, and I think it's you benefit from both because you get the power in a way and the structure from the Cabernet, but you also get some more layers of elegance and spices, which is great, and the more layers of complexity is generous, but is also very, in a way, is very spicy, is very attractive, is very interesting to experience. So and there it just we were hoping and we were thinking that should do well, but I mean I was not expecting that it could do so well. And every year it's amazing how you have sometimes in Atlantic Ocean climate you may experience a lot of rain in some vintages, and Marcellan doesn't care. I mean, it just is ripening, is growing, is is a very natural grape because it doesn't require many spraying. It's not so susceptible to downy or powdery as some other grapes. So it's fantastic. It's an amazing friend to deal with in Garzón. And over time we are experiencing, achieving more and more complexity and mid palate and level of nice, juicy, and very reactive tannins into the mouth, which is fantastic.
I loved the openness of the nose on the Marcelin, just the regular Garzón Marcelin.
Yeah.
It was the wild red fruits, all of it still had and it managed to get a little bit of that garrigue character that you find so much in the south of France, even, but with more juice and a little bit more definition, not quite so tangy. So a little easier to drink too, which was nice. Are you guys making any other Marcelins besides just the lower level one, like the regular Reserva?
We are now thinking about making something at a higher level, and it's we like the idea of understanding, because we are still in a learning process, because you have to think that this project is 12 years old, and 12 years is just a very little time when it comes to understanding terroir and wine. So we are really evolving in our knowledge. We are deepening our knowledge every time we know more, and we are very surprised about how some of the grapes, including Marcellan, are performing. And probably the only problem with Marcellan at this stage is that probably to sell on its own as a super premium wine could be a little difficult. So our idea is to get the appreciation first, to let the grape know, and then once it becomes a bit more popular, then probably will be the right time to think something at an upper level. Sure. But we are already using that in the Balasto blend, which is our premium wines.
Right, so and that was and I just learned something from talking to you just now, that was named after the type of granite soil, right? Balasto soil, which is one of the oldest on the planet, right? If I remember right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Balasto is the name that local people call the decomposed granite mother rock. So this is not a fantasy name. It's a name that came from local people. Has always been the name that local people have called the type of soil. So it's fantastic because it's really, it's something very real in a way. It's not a fantasy name; it's a real name. And I think to have a Marcellan in such a premium wine like being part of the Balasto blend, and Balasto is a wine that has been appreciated in the Place de Bordeaux from the Négociant in Bordeaux, which is an amazing achievement for such a young wine project and from an unknown part of the world, and being Marcellan part of that blend means a lot to me. I mean, just that means that the grape has got a good genetic, you know, has got a great potential.
Yeah, because of being a good grape genetic material.
Yeah.
I think the first time I remember the first time I had Balasto actually was at in Chicago. Christian Wiley was at this conference, Full Circle Wine Solutions conference in Chicago, and we had a group of a lot of different wines, and that one really stuck out to me just because of its precision. And yes, it is a big, rich, you know, it's a full-bodied wine, but again, the freshness on the finish, it's not cloying, it's not heavy, is very drinkable, even though it is quite intense. And that quality was something that I hadn't ever tasted from, you know, so much from any of the other stuff from Uruguay. And so I got really excited when I had the opportunity to go and visit. And
No,
try
it
them.
is. It is about you know, layers of complexity, elegance, and good energy. I mean, it's something pretty unusual for a premium new world wine, which we are very happy with. You know, we are very happy with. And
The Balasto, what is the blend breakdown on that? There is some Marcellan in it, but what else?
yeah,
Is
there is basically, you know, the 4 grapes is majority of Tannat, and then there is Cape Franc, then there is Petit Verdot, and there is the Marcellan. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, the Petit Verdot. Yeah, I remember the single vineyard Petit Verdot being really good too.
It's also, it's amazing how well the Petit Verdot is ripening. And this is not, again, with the Petit Verdot grown there, you don't get, it's not over the top, it's not too much. Some of the Petit Verdot, they are very difficult to enjoy on their own because they're just too big, they're just too much. But there, because of the filtered light and the humidity and the vicinity to the Atlantic Ocean, I think it's, you get, you know, a different profile, which is more, is richness, but is also freshness combined.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, it's just the whole way that you guys have taken the approach is very, very fun and very forward thinking for the world in general. And because that's where everybody's tastes are moving, really. Less extraction, less oak, less alcohol. I see it every day with customers. There's still people that like, you know, buttery California Chardonnay, and I'm sure there always will be. But particularly with the younger customers that come into our stores, I talk to them, and they are very interested in, what do you have that's new? What do you have that's not my mother's Chardonnay? What do you have that's not my father's Cabernet? They really want to taste new things from this, especially this new amazing 21st century terroir that you guys have propagated.
But you know, Ivan, the thing is also that our mission at Garzón has always been not to make winemakers wines, but to make terroir-driven wines, which are more focused on purity and authenticity to deliver for having the consumer doing a great experience. And the winemaker at Garzón is not the one that is responsible for the flavor. Is the one that is forgetting his ego and is using his knowledge and his experience and his talent at the service of the place, which is different. So these are not wines in which you recognize the winemaker. The winemaker is important because he's the one, or the better say, the wine grower, because, you know, we are teamwork, and along with the local guy that are amazing, you know, Eduardo Felix and Germán Bruzzone, the 2 local guys that have done so much for the project, and I learned so much from, because they have an amazing knowledge of the local terroir that I don't have, and it's you know, in a way, it's great to see them also sharing this vision, which is about let's work for the place, and let's the place show and be delivered to the consumer. And therefore, obviously, you had to avoid, which we consider the enemy of terroir-driven wines, which is the over-maturation, the over-extraction, the excess of oak, and blah, 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 blah. And obviously, by avoiding them in the approach of making the wine, we have been able to make more and more pure and authentic terroir-driven wines, which is our goal.
Would you say, in your opinion, is it almost, I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but would you say it's harder to make wine that way by trying to do nothing to it than it is to manipulate all of the different things and, use a lab and all of that? I mean, I'm sure you guys use a lab, but you know what I mean? Not wizardry and additions and things that don't really need to be there.
I think it's, I like to say that less is more, but I also like to add to that to do less, you have to know more. So basically, when you like to have a non-invasive winemaking, you need to be a lot closer to the grapes, to the fermentation, to the understanding of everything is happening in your winery and in your vineyard previously. So in a way, for us, it's key to be very close to what we do. So Eduardo and Germán, they work together. I mean, obviously, into the day-to-day operation, one is more in charge. Eduardo is more in charge of the vineyards, and Germán is more in charge of the wine. But they never made decision on their own, so they work together. So it's one thing. That's why I like to call them both wine growers. They both grow the wine, and that's great. That's the spirit of Garzón, and by doing that, you can start doing less because you feel comfortable to do that, because you know that you know more, you know the place, you know the magic combination of soil, plant, and climate. When you become familiar with that, you can do much less. But doing less doesn't mean, doing nothing. It means actually to work harder in order to achieve purity and authenticity along with quality and absence of faults. Because a lot of more natural wines, they have the problem that they are natural, but they are not as good as they should be. So our mission is to make wines which can deliver their origin, the essence of their origin, but at the same time, wines which are sound, well made and enjoyable with no faults.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people selling things around the world these days under the guise of natural wine that have a lot of faults. To be frank about it, you taste and you smell them and you go, oh gosh, this has a lot of VA, or this has a whole lot of Brettanomyces, or whatever it is. Not to get too technical for everyone, but that stuff, while can be fascinating the first time you smell it, it takes away from the purity of the experience of the place and the grapes that the quality of the grapes, right? I mean, that's my view.
It's true. It is true, because we say that the oak is masking the terroir, true. The over maceration is masking the terroir, true. But at the same time, the bread is masking the terroir, and the oxidation is masking the terroir. The reduction is masking the terroir. So we had to be careful when we talk about this issue, because in order to express the terroir, the wine has to be sound in a way, because with some of these faults, then you don't really experience the terroir, because the faults can be, responsible for not allowing the terroir to express himself. So that's the point. And we have just few more minutes left. Should we taste the Tannat? Or you?
Yeah, let's taste the Tannat. I like it.
It's
Oh, that nose. Wow. It's I love how expressive the floral component of the Tannat really comes out for me. It's like lively violets, like a garden. The fruits are juicy and balanced and fresh. in character. They're not jammy. They're not overripe. Uh, the tannin management is excellent. Yeah, it's Tanat. You've made Tanat somehow not be a hard burly beast. It is a inviting thing that a lot of people would love to drink because it is still a full bodied red.
It is.
Great, yeah, but a drinkable one. I mean, what do you think when you taste this? What are you thinking in your mind
I
when you
think of
taste this?
of experiencing something which is interesting because it's combining richness, structure, and texture with juiciness, drinkability, spices, and the love of different flavors, which smooth, silky, velvety tannins. And this is a great achievement because, as you were saying before, most of the Tannat that I had experienced before, they were quite rusty, not bad, but wines that you can enjoy probably after 20 years. And we couldn't wait that long to pay back the
Yeah,
investment. We need to speed up the process, and that I think thanks to the place, because I believe that the main reason of what you have got in the glass is not us. I mean, we did everything well. The family gave us all the amazing tools to develop the vineyards, to build the winery, to equip the winery, but still, I think the main responsible of this wine is Garzón. And I
yeah,
think it's really a great achievement for all of us to put Tana on the map and to make it more approachable and more enjoyable to the much wider audience. And I think in the years to come, it will get more and more consideration and more popularity. And I think it's probably it will change many people's experience that they had done before with this grape.
yeah. I agree. I mean, I have a lot of customers that are fond of French wines, and so they are familiar with Mataran. But typically, when you give them a Mataran, you know, they come back and they go, "Well, it was good, but boy, that tannin really, it's just
True.
really aggressive
Yeah. Yeah.
for them."
True.
And so I've had a lot of fun taking people to this wine.
Great.
Uh, and
I don't want to be rude, but I think we need
no,
to, otherwise, Instagram Live is cut us down without having the opportunity to say goodbye. So I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity of speaking about a place I love. To me, it's like one of my children. It's really something unique for my experience, not just professional but also personal. And having the opportunity to talk to you all has been great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this live, and hopefully soon we can meet in person and share a great piece of Uruguayan or Texan beef and an amazing Tana from there.
I think that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much for your time. It's been amazing talking to you.
Pleasure. Have you all a good day. Have a good evening. It's 9 p.m. now. Hopefully there is some leftover in the kitchen for me tonight, but if not, it's okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you,
Ciao.
Ivan, very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Thank you.